Hi guys. I was gonna make a video just talking about the Six Nations squads. So it's exciting. It's coming up now. I made a video talking about what I think the first week will go like how I think it'll pan out. So I expect an easy win for France. I expect a comfortable win for Scotland. Not great. I think they get the job done with the bonus point, but I don't expect a blowout. Um, Yeah, I also think that Ireland will beat England, but I don't think that's going to be an easy game by any stretch of the imagination. It's going to be tough. Physically, they're going to bring it, but I think, we'll have enough. I think England's discipline will cost them. And I think if we can take our penalties and be decent, and play smart, then we'll be all right. Quite a conservative team, but we can go through the squads with you, each team, and we'll start with Ireland, of course. So, without further ado, share now. There we are. So I'll just move myself up. So it's kind of as you were. It's a nice big banner there, though, isn't it? I I'm not overly excited with that team, if I'm being completely honest. It's tried and tested. I think it's an old team. I think it's a boring team. Good players, like the ones that make the difference for us. This man here, Andrew Porter, is huge, quite literally and metaphorically. Plays 70 minutes week in, week out. We're going to need him. Definitely, we're over reliant on him, but he's a brilliant player. And he will be replaced by this man, no doubt, who cannot do the minutes anymore. I mean, he was a great servant, but I think we're just relying on the old boys way too much. This young fella here, as you can see the star beside him, he's the only new cap. And the development players, um, I've looked at Cathal Forde for Connacht, who's been brilliant, and great leg drive, powerhouse, as that real wiry guy type of build. I'm impressed. There's a good left foot on him as well. I was hoping he might get a mention. James McNabney, powerhouse in the back row, definitely a future number 8 for Ireland, I think. Really good player. He's only young, has a chance. I think he's an exciting talent. Um, Ben Murphy obviously moved from Leinster to play with Connacht. He played against his dad and his brother, and he beat. Sorry, no, he lost. I was getting ahead of myself there. Ulster, of course, beating Connacht just after Christmas. But happy that Gary Ringrose is back. Think it's great to have him in the backs. Like we're looking all right. We're kind of tried and tested. In the back line, I expect that we will have, of course, where is my man there? Yeah, number 9, Gibson Park. Can't go wrong with him. Then I would put Crowley. 12, I'm going to go with Henshaw, and I'm going to go with Goodell Ringers. And then left wing, I think, again, tried and tested James Lowe. Fullback, Mr. Reliable, just above him, Hugo Keenan. Brilliant, can't go wrong. Someone said it before, and I thought it was a perfect description. He's like a goalkeeper in rugby, just mops everything up. Safe pair of hands, quite literally like a keeper, and hardly ever puts a foot wrong. Takes lads down twice his size, but can also get the nippy little fellas who can stay. Hugo Keenan is a player that we're going to need. I think the main players for the Ireland team that we cannot live without are Hugo Keenan, Jamison Gibson Park, and then Andrew Porter. Those are the three key players because if Andrew Porter gets injured, due to us not bringing in players or not getting players any game time, we've kind of shot ourselves in the foot because Cian Healy cannot do big minutes. He can't even last a full half. My big fear is that if Andrew Porter gets injured, we are screwed because then we're asking the likes of Jack Boyle, who definitely not as fit as Porter. Few are, but Jack Boyle strikes me as a 50-minute player. Then after that, he drops off significantly. And Cian Healy has not got that in the tank. Just saying it, he doesn't have it. He was never necessarily known for his fitness. He was more of a big, strong, muscular type player. I think we've missed out on a big opportunity here to blood some young props. Like you've got Jeremy Loughman, you've got Michael Milne, Jack Boyle as well. Yeah, he's a bit young, And what happens if you chuck him in the deep end and he doesn't perform? It's quite unfair in a 22-year-old to throw him in the deep end and then you're screwed. My big fear is that we've used Porter way too much and it's going to come back to bite us in the arse. I hope it doesn't. As an Ireland fan and a massive Andrew Porter fan, I'm hoping he stays fit, but don't know, it's risky. Great news is that this man Tadhg is back in the team, Tadhg Furlong. Then we've got, of course, Dan Sheehan, brilliant. Two world class front rowers coming back. Don't know when they'll get in, but fuck it, we'll see. No, happy as Larry. Conor Murray, I don't know why he's still around. I guess like with Craig Casey being out, fair enough. But look, great servant to Irish rugby. Scored a great try against South Africa. He's 35, as is our man Peter. Where's Peter O'Mahony now? There he is, Pom. I'm sure he hates being called Pom. Pommy. Oh, must despise that. Look, O'Mahony's a player I'm sure to criticise because I'm not very quick to criticise him because he's such a good talent. He was like great work rate. After laying out malfunctions, which will need this man to be on point, Kelleher, great round the field, but his throwing has not been good enough. It's going to need to be a significant improvement, especially considering that Ireland Australia game. Like we were so flat and poor in attack. Being there, like I can tell you, the atmosphere went from 1,000 to -1, whatever scale you want to use for atmosphere. Everyone was buzzing. You couldn't even get into the stadium because it was so packed. The Ireland fans have been showing up for the team. Now the team need to show up for the fans. Like it's not good enough to just keep on, doing the same shit week in, week out. I think we needed a good kick up the hole in that the Autumn Internationals in November, and we didn't get it because you can easily turn around and go 3 wins out of 4 games. The only loss coming to the All Blacks, beat Argentina, beat Australia, beat Fiji. They can just go, oh yeah, job done. Well, for me, the performances were not good enough. Um, I just feel like it was very boring. I felt like against Argentina, we had a good first half, but we dropped off, did nothing really in the second half, and gave Argentina every opportunity to beat us. And they weren't great. Like they were poor, but we just didn't keep them at bay. Did enough to win the game. Like both games, we beat them and Australia 22-19. Quite boring games, quite poor, and I wasn't very impressed. Just gonna say it. As well, like we got 15 tries in 4 games, and I've said this before, but 15 of those tries, and that's nearly like 4 tries a game. I know 16 would be 4 a game. My maths is all right, don't worry. But here's something that just worries me. 9 of those tries are by forwards, okay? And no backs scored any tries against Australia. It was all the forwards. Gus McCarthy, of course, getting 2 tries in 2 games. Fair play to him. Caelan Doris getting a good try as well. So fair play to him. And Josh van der Flier, of course, bailing us out again. He scored against the All Blacks and he scored against Fiji also. The only team he didn't score against was Argentina. We rely way too heavily on our forwards. So if that lineout is not functioning, if the scrum is not functioning, we're screwed, because I feel like these backs are just our backs are actually older than our forwards, believe it or not. Ringrose and Henshaw are both in their 30s now. Gibson Park in his 30s as well, Keenan, James Lowe. Yeah, like it's an old back line, it really is. I would go with Calvin Nash on the right wing, just FYI. I know I talked about the back line. I think you kind of go tried and tested. I think Henshaw and Ringrose will win us the game at centres. Keenan will mop up anything. At fullback, we need Lowe to put the ball off the field because I'm going to go through the England team, but they have a strong back three. You kick to them, they will run at you and they will hurt you. They did it last year. They've no Faye Wabosa, but Ollie Slightholme looks just as good. Scored loads of tries. He looks like a talent, so we're going to need to up our game. England are going to come looking for blood, and we have to show them that this is our backyard and we want to win. It's Ireland v England. You want to see some excitement. You want to see us showing a bit of passion and taking the game to them. Um, I also think another player who, as good as he's dropped off. Now, this is considering how significantly good he is week in, week out. But that's Tadhg Furlong. Now, a few people are saying it, and I kind of agree. Can they not put the forwards in order? So one, obviously being loosehead prop, then hooker, number two, number three, tighthead. Like they're just sorry, it's arseways. I don't know what the fuck they're doing, but nice fancy banner. Anyway, I think Tadhg Furlong is someone who didn't have the best autumn series, and as good as he has been for us, we're gonna need him to be even better. Um, want Ireland to hit the ground running, you know. Not a very adventurous squad, but look, screw it, we can go out there and we can try and we can do our best. Fact of the matter is, we had a chance to go back to back Grand Slams and be the first team ever to do that, having not delivered in the World Cup. We bottled it, we did. We bottled it. Love Lucas Aid. But we had a chance to do something historic after letting the fans down. The team did. Like let's call it what it is. We always tend to cut them some slack and go they tried their best. New Zealand wouldn't have let them off that lightly. England wouldn't have let their team off that lightly. And let's not forget a very poor England side managed to win a bronze medal. We couldn't even get past the quarter final. So you can say we were on the wrong side of the draw. If we got in Argentina, we would have beaten them. If we got in Wales, blah blah blah. It's all woulda, coulda, shoulda. um, Not good enough. Simple as. I don't think this team gets called out or held accountable enough. I think it's time for us to go. No, like they have to start stepping it up. Boring selection, very boring and conservative. We're sticking with players that are just way too old. Um, Another man I think has passed it, and I've always been a fan of his, but that's Ian Henderson. I think he's way too old. Um, Not even necessarily his age, but just think he's past his best. He's I only think he's 32, 33, but just not impressed with him. I don't think he did anything in that autumn series. I just think like we need young bloods coming in. We've missed out on another massive opportunity. Like why not bring in Tom Ahern? I don't get that. Gavin Coombes can feel very aggrieved because I was looking at some interesting stats. You can find it on URC, the actual webpage, some really good stats. Credit to the knock-on effect. His channel's really good. It's one I like. And he was talking about it saying, like, what the hell are they doing? Because Gavin Coombs' stats were better than Cian Prendergast and Jack Aungier. You know, Cian Prendergast is in the team and Gavin Coombs isn't. Now, there's a good video, like, you watch it if you want. You'll see it's his video and he does a really good version of it. So I think I'd just be copying if I did the exact same thing. You can check out the players' stats on URC. Really good page. Gavin Coombs has more tries. He averages like a try every 2 games. Although that's out of just thinking now. Like on the URC page, I'll just show you. That's the squad anyway. I think it more or less picks itself. But I want to show you it now because I think it's worth having a look. Very good page. So let's have a look. You can go into their actual website. We'll just accept. And what you can do is you can get all the games, like all the latest updates and there's all that jazz. You can type in players, the teams, leading try scorer Johnny Matthews. I was only talking about that, why he's not in the Scottish team. Um, view top 100 if you want. Let's actually have a look. He's 10. Basham was quite a few, doesn't he? Tom Farrell's doing quite well also. Gavin Coombes is up there, all right. Yeah. So you see here, like Caelan Doris, and then you got Gavin Coombes, 4 tries, joint sixth top scorer. He's a forward, so that's quite good for him. I want to see now. You can check it all out, like really good stats, just to show you. And you can look up players also. You can look up teams. Obviously, Leinster being top of the URC itself. There's a lot of really good stuff in there. Top 100 clubs, stats. And you can check the years, like it's really good. So there's a lot of really good stuff. Obviously, like Glasgow are doing quite well. So in the stats, defenders beaten. Yeah, they have a lot of defenders beaten. Tui Palavu, say would have a lot to say about that, but he won't be obviously playing breaks. That's kind of what Scotland are all about, the meters gain, and then try scored like they're level with Leinster. Some noise out with Scarlets are the best defence, so might be something in that for Wales if they want to look at it. Yeah, the worst defence being the Stormers. You normally think of the South African teams as being big and physical, but you've got Connacht, yeah, they get physically dominated. But you think to yourself, 3 of the South African teams are in the bottom 4. Not very good, especially when you normally think of them. And you want to go in the yeah, Jesus. All the South African teams are in the bottom 6. Not great. I wanted to just look at individual players. Successful carries. Let's have a look at this. Tom Farrell again, doing us proud. Morgan Morris, not bad at all. This young fella, Simone Casey. Simone Casey. He's doing quite well. Hearing big things about him. So I remember Gavin Coombes was in the top 6, joint top 6 on 4 tries. Yeah, he's 13, joint 13. Which is well above average though. That's out of top 100, so just FYI. There's Jack Conan down in 20. So you can just see James McNabney doing very well too, and Nick Timoney. Well, there's two players also. Gavin Coombes leading the way in the successful carries. So I mean, well, let's have a look. Just I want to see where Caelan Doris is. Caelan Doris, sorry. Like, Dave McCann for Ulster, Tom Farrell, they're leading the way in successful carries. And just to add, Pierce O'Connor for Connacht. I know he's Australian, but like with that name, surely there's Irish roots. Andre Esterhazy, like no surprise, the man gets over the game like every single time. I think the only reason he's not in the Springbok side is because of how good that partnership between Damien Dialande and Jesse Grail is. But like in fairness, look at that. 50 successful carries, 49 by Tom Farrell, who has been outstanding. Like that game against Ulster was brilliant. David McCann, very good player as well. Um, but not getting a look in. Here's O'Connor. He played centre and fullback as well, so versatile. Paul Boyle, gory lad, has the same surname as my grandmother. So we love you, Paul. Big shout out to Jack as well, representing the Boyle name. There's Gavin Coombes. So like in the top 13, yeah, because remember he's in the development squad. He's not in the actual squad yet, but very good player. Saw him against Connacht. He was outstanding. Jack Conan, he's 20th. Let's see where Caelan Doris is. Sure, he's up here somewhere. Cathal Forde, another great player. Jamie Osborne, doing great. All the way down to 32. So just take that in, like our starting number eight, who like they sing his praises all the time. I'm not even going to look for Van der Fleer because he does so much. So nah, we're gonna big him up. Caelan Doris is 32 on the list out of 100 now for successful carries. I'm surprised he isn't higher actually. Tui Pilato. Jack Cohn is at 20. You know, these two lads are in the Ireland team. And you've got let's just count it now actually. Let's count how many players are ahead of them that aren't actually in the actual squad. So we got one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Seven players are ahead of both Jack Conan and Caelan Doris. Like when you're playing as a number eight or a six or a seven, you know, but I mean, as you say, Van der Fleer is not someone I'll be very quick to criticise because he does so much around the field. It's a great site though, isn't it? I'm getting addicted already. Um, I am an Irish fan after all. It's going to be an in-depth video. But let's look. Let's look at the stats. And then defence as well. Ulster are ahead of them, you know. Munster not being great, so like fair enough. Surprised though that Ulster are ahead, but fair play to them. So let's look at the stats here. Johnny Matthews doing very well. Tom Farrell, so he's the top try scorer. Let's see if we got any Leinster players. Thank you, knock on effect, for introducing me to this FYI. So then try scorers as well. We've got one, two, three. Now both these lads are in the development squad, but Tom Farrell leads the way. He's not in the squad at all, not even development. Yeah, all the way down at six. And joint as well, you know, and Coombes has had two games off the bench this season for Munster so far, so take that into account. And he's level with Doris, who has a significantly better team in Leinster. And that's what I always look at. You know, you got to look at who was the better team. Doris clearly has the better team, but he's still equal with Coombes. Just showing you, like, and again, look, all the way down 25th, Larmer and Conan. So That's for tries scored, FYI. So we have three Irish players ahead of starters, guys who aren't even in the actual team, you know. So more clean breaks, more tries. The starters aren't leading the way, are they? Well, let's have a look at more. These are really good. Jeez, I didn't expect it to be this good. Again, let's look at top point scorers. Johan Lloyd. I heard Dan Edwards was the only fly half going with Wales. I'm going to check out their squad now in a second. Um, I haven't actually looked at it properly, but there's Dan Edwards. I'm pretty sure Johan Lloyd is on the. He's was he even in the squad? I'm gonna find out. But yeah, so leading point scorer is Cathal Forde. In terms of Irish players now, Johan Lloyd leads the way. Jordan Hendrickse, number two. Ross Thompson for Edinburgh. Prosper. I think his days in an Ireland jersey are well and truly done. He's down at 10th. Cathal Forde is at 5th, leading in every stat. Now, obviously, fly halves will have more, but Cathal Forde's centre, he's 13. Prendergast, who they've done nothing but praise, is all the way down 16th. Cathal Forde is 5th. Yeah, like, I mean, the hype doesn't seem to be great. Stats certainly aren't being led by Leinster players like they'd have you believe. Playing breaks, Piers O'Connor is second. No Leinster player in that stat either. Tom Farrell is sixth. No Leinster player. Craig Casey's down. Mike Lowry, another player who's very good, who doesn't even get a look in. Caelan Blade, again, no Leinster player. We're down to 21. Jeez, this isn't boasting very well for Leinster players, is it? Shane Bolton, Mac Hansen, Ben Murphy. Now, obviously, Mac Hansen being in the Ireland squad, but he's all the way down 32. Gibson Park. So, all the way down 32. First Leinster player to be mentioned. Would have expected him to be higher, to be honest, in clean breaks. So, what does that tell you? The Connacht player is in second, and Leinster player is all the way down 32. Just saying. Meters gained, Mike Healy, defenders beaten, Tom Farrell. Let's have a look at this. This is a good stat. Yeah, Tom Farrell is all the way at number one. Jesus, like for stats, he is really asking the question. Other man who was shot all over now, and I haven't said that one in a while, my favourite, Stockdale. James Lowe can be considered for this list as well. The man who apparently never puts a foot wrong. I've seen a few people say he's the best left winger in the world. Few now, not everyone, but no, not a chance. I just think he makes way too many mistakes. And he's allowed to. Players do make mistakes, except if you're Stockdale, in which case you're absolutely hammered. Tom Farrell, number one, that's incredible. Fair play to him. Jared Darcy Graham makes sense because you just can't put him down. He's a little pocket rocket. Esther Hazen getting over the game line all the time. Then Bundy Aki and Doris at 9. Yeah, so like, look, they're relatively high on the list. Tom Farrell leads the way for defenders beaten, and then Stockdale. Don't start seeing Leinster players mentioned until we go to ninth. And Bundy's getting on now in years. Great servant, but he's getting on. Meters gained. Mike Healy, other man who was eligible to represent Ireland. Geez, fair play. Munster really. I know they're individual stats, but still. Tom Farrell again. Pierce O'Connor. Three guys who weren't even in the team, leading the way in stats. Jacob Stockdale. Shane Jennings, have been very impressed with him. Winger for Connacht. He's an impressive player. I like the look of him. Osborne all the way down in 29th. So Calvin Nash just behind him. Just showing you. And believe me, they do the research in this channel. It's very good. Just can't win it. Could be hopeful. There's a few Welsh players actually stepping up on this list. So they can put it together in the Six Nations. Wales are going to desperately need it. But no, look, hopefully they can. Well, here we go now. So finally something Leinster lead the way in. But guess what? It's a foreign import. Munster fans eat your hair do. But joint first. Who's up there again? Tom Farrell. You know, he really has come into his own. He was never a player I was very excited about. I felt like he had a lot of potential, but never delivered on it. Joined first and offloads. And Snyman has the advantage of those big octopus arms. And then Mac Hansen all the way down in sixth. Gavin Coombes in there as well. Yeah, we don't even get a Leinster player other than like an Irish qualified Leinster player until Jamie Osborne. You know what I mean? Snyman is a weapon. And you also have to remember that's off the bench most of the time. He's not starting for Leinster most of the time, so he's getting way more than anyone else, and he's coming off the bench to do it. It's not good for the Irish team, you know. Carries Prishantelli, Geronimo Prishantelli, Tom Farrell again in third place. Morgan Morris, this lad needs to be given free rein in the Welsh team. Again, Piers O'Connor. Like, look at that. Mike Healy. No, Leinster player Dave McCann, Bundy Aki, Cathal Forde. Most of these guys aren't even in the Irish squad, you know, and if they are, it's the development team. No Leinster players again. Gavin Coombes in that list before any Leinster players. Jamie Osborne, who has been very good, but he's all the way down in 29th. Such a good website. I'm getting addicted. I want to look at more defensive stats. Yeah, there we go. Here we go. This is where Coombes comes into his own. Right. So look at this. Back rower. And I've played in the back row, you know. Tackles are what you measure yourself in. Fair play to Teddy Williams. I've always thought of Wales as having a good back row. Like if they can get their back row firing, they're strong. Just a shame about their front row, you know. And that's really good. Like fair play to him. Teddy Williams leading the way, but not far behind is Gavin Coombes. Jack Morgan, yeah, I was expecting him to be high on this list. And Josh McLeod, good player too. I watched him for the Scarlets. Good player. The Welsh players score very high on this, but then again, I guess they're having to make a lot of tackles. But still, you need players who will do that. And Gavin Coombes is not a player I would typically think of as making loads of tackles. I think more of him as big bruise and ball carrier, but he's stepping up. He's in second place. John Hodnett, a player whose praises I've been singing. Don't know how he's not in the squad. But look at that. Davy McCann, another player. Finian Wycherley, not someone who I think is a great player, but he always puts in a good shift. You know, effort wise, can't fault them. Just think that Munster have better players. Yeah, like Jack O'Donoghue, Niall Scannell. Expected from Jack O'Donoghue, not so much Niall Scannell, but fair play to him. You know, he's one of the older lads. John Ryan. You know, you say that Healy's still going around, even though he doesn't look like he's fit enough. John Ryan, I have to say, he's been playing very well. He's 36. I thought he was 34. Jeez. Remember, this is top tackles. 50th, James Ryan. So let's look. Sorry, let's. I do also accept that Leinster are a team that typically dominate possession. I accept that, but in the attacking stats, they're not leading the way either. where they are leading the way is the table. So obviously, like it's a collective effort. I understand that, but when it comes to the Ireland team, I would still say a majority of Leinster players. Like James Ryan is obviously someone you're picking. I would go with a like front row. I would say Leinster. Yeah, I can't really argue with that. I think that's fair enough. And like front rowers aren't going to be leading the stats in a lot of things. I would even argue that the top five should be all Leinster. I would agree with that. If you're going to put Tadhg Furlong at six, put him in the second row, then obviously he'd be the only Munster player. But like the rest of them, certainly an argument to be made in the back row, isn't there? And at least on the bench for some second rowers. James Ryan's all the way down in 50th for tackles. So we've got Nick Timoney. We got one, two, three, four, five, six, seven. Yeah, eight players that are ahead of a Leinster player and another stat. And this would be the one for me. Like tackles made is the big one. You want the players to be making them. And I expected Josh van der Fleer to be in this, but look, tackle success led by a Connacht man, three of them, in fact. Fair play. Yeah, Connacht are leading the way, and then Dragons as well. This is one though, like so you look at it and you think to yourself, all right, so when you do make your tackles, how successful are you? Because you can imagine Connacht, Munster, and Ulster are all going to have to make more tackles than Leinster because Leinster dominate the ball so much. So, like, I would have expected Leinster to be higher on this list, but there is, there we go. Conor O'Tierney, Stephen Smith, don't even know. Oh no, that's the hooker, isn't it? The young fella, Rory Maguire. Yeah, Aaron Zana, King, Oitzo, Harry Byrne. Wouldn't have thought of him as being a great tackler now, but yeah, you see, Leinster wouldn't be making as many tackles, so logic dictates that they're not going to necessarily fall off as many. But let's keep looking because there's all joint first. Colin Reid. Let's look for Dave McCann, Gavin Coombes. Naturally, when you make more tackles, you are going to miss more. Jeez, he's still going, Augustine Gravy. That's mad, isn't it? What a servant to the game. Yeah. Now, see, remember for this one that a lot of times the players making the most tackles are going to naturally miss a few, but they're the fellas who are throwing themselves around, and those are tackles made. So that's how often you're doing it. Naturally, the more you attempt to make, the more you're going to miss. You know, turnovers one. Now, see, this is an area where I'm not very happy with Ireland because I think we give away too many and we don't jackal enough. Benetton are really on the up. Italy could cause an upset this season, no doubt, and we have them away. So, yeah, we're not dominating in this stat anyway. Nick Timoney is the only Irish player up there. Again, not in the squad. Tadhg Furlong, yeah, like you expect that with Tadhg Furlong. That's what he gives you. That's why I prefer to have him in the back row. I think he's too tied up when he's second row. Whereas if he's at six in the back row, he can get more turnovers. Logic would dictate Doris is 18th. So you have two Irish players ahead of him, but of course Tadhg Furlong is a mainstay in the Irish squad. Nick Timoney isn't. He's been in and out of the team. Turnovers lost. So this is how many have been given away. Can't win it for Wales because Cam win it. He tends to run from deep. Um, Not so much their fault. This is a player like say getting isolated with the ball, but that can mean you're making a clean break and your defenders just aren't quick enough to get with you. I have not been impressed with him. Cordero, I expected a lot more from him, especially player of visibility. I would have thought he'd hit the ground running, but he's not been good. Been quite disappointing, and this is a stat that shows it. Um, like fair enough if he's got meters made, like with runs, but he's giving the ball away. Like Gibson Park, how many times does he make a break and it comes off? So credit where it's due. He gets us firing, and sometimes he'll see space where there isn't any. Darcy Graham and Simone Gessi, Rio Dyer. These are all players that are quite good at stepping people and getting past defenders. So, and Suleiman Hartzenberg, what a cool name. Mad name, isn't it? I'm surprised the South African teams aren't doing better on these lists. They're doing quite poorly. Yeah, it was C. Pearce O'Connor leading the way in everything. Like his attacking stats are unbelievable, like what meters made and successful carries. So, in fairness, cut him some slack. Naturally, if he makes a few clean breaks, he's going to give the ball away. Tom Farrell leading the way in attacking stats. In fairness, only natural again that you would get turned over because you're making good breaks and your attacking team just aren't there with you. So, like with Santiago Cordero, fair enough. Sometimes you might make clean breaks, but having watched him, he just seems to be getting isolated. He seems to do things that he's just not on the same wavelength as his teammates. That's what I see. Nathan Doak, someone who, yeah, not the most exciting player, but he can kick off the tee and just another option, like kind of like John Cooney. But John Cooney is well and truly gone in an Ireland shirt, sadly. Kicking stats, Jack Carty leading the way. Number one for Ireland, obviously Albornoz doing very well. He's Argentinian, so he won't be playing for Italy. Start thinking if he was playing for Italy, you'd think great, but just another attacking option. But he won't be available. Tony Butler, James Humphreys, any relation to David? Surely there's got to be a connection there. Only hearing of James Humphreys. I've been watching the URC, so there's a few players that are new to me, some that aren't. Sam Prendergast, all the way down at 12th. Doesn't even sound like a word, was it 12th? But just move myself again. Sorry, just gonna pause it for a sec. And we are back. Yeah, so successful kicks. Let's just have a look now. Yeah, Jack Carty leads the way with that for Irish teams. Thomas Albornoz doing very well. Ben Thomas as well for Cardiff. Tinas the Bear. South African pronunciation, the Bear. Tony Butler and James Humphreys also. So you've literally got a player from every province ahead of Sam Prendergast. Now that's based off again. So credit to Prendergast. That will be out of the amount of kicks. So at least with these two, Tony Butler and James Humphreys, he would obviously be starting for Connacht. But Prendergast would have more kicks because he starts for Leinster more. So only natural that he would have more missed, kind of like with Coombes and the tackles. I'm nothing if not fair. Nathan Doak as well kicks quite a bit for Ulster because they tend to go with the nine kicking. They have Aidan Morgan, the Aussie fella, but Nathan Doak is quite reliable in fairness from the tee. Yeah, Marty Moore, Marty Moore, out of zero. Anyway, let's ignore that. Starting to get a bit confused. Kicking isn't something I ever do on the pitch. I'm a forward. I've kicked a few times, but so this is a scored missed ratio. Well, let's have a look. See if there are any Irish players up there. So this would be like your ratio of how many you've scored versus how many you've missed. Johan Lloyd doing quite well in fairness to him. Yeah, don't want to comment too much on these because I'm not a back. Feel like this is outside my comfort zone. Meters made, tackles, all that, all those stats. Tries scored, that much I know. Kicks, yeah. Well, no, let's go through it. Like screw it. May as well. It's going to be something we consider. Now, I think fly half is pretty much nailed down between Sam Prendergast and Jack Crowley. I think that much we agree on. Everybody would like. But in terms of who starts, that's what causes a bit more debate. This up again. What Luke say, it gives me the energy to make these videos. Awesome kind of energy. Yeah, see, with drop goals, like those stats are gonna have few and far between. A drop goal typically will happen in a very tight game at the end. If it's a really tight game, say between the team is ahead by a point or 2 points, because obviously a drop goal is worth 3 points, same as a penalty. Very rare you're going to get drop goals in a game. It's like you can see here, Damian Willemse with two, but not many players are actually attempting drop goals. And Damian Willemse's kicking Damien, let's call him Damien. He's tried two. Everybody else hasn't even bothered trying. Ross Byrne leading the list with conversion scored versus missed. Cathal Forde just behind them. Not too bad at all. Nathan Doak doing all right. Sam Prendergast. But as you say, it's between. Actually, yeah, let's see what any Munster guys. Farrell, Billy Burns. Yeah. Tony Butler again. Kinney. Jack Carty. Jack Crowley. Yeah. I feel like Jack Crowley's kicking has let him down recently. Like, to be honest. Both him and Prendergast are quite hot and cold off the tee. They can nail everything one day and then miss everything the other. Ross Byrne and Cathal Forde doing all right in those stats. Nathan Doak doing quite well in kick meters. Just be more for distance, for touch, kicking out of hand and then kicks in play. But see, he's got more kicks in play, so his ratio is going to be up. Be a few players who just don't like to kick from hand in play. Quite good though for a scrum half. Gareth Davis, now you'll have a lot of box kicking with certain scrum halves. Conor Murray loves a good box kick. And take into account here as well, like all these, most of them are scrum halves, like Jaden Hendricks, Garbisi, Alessandro, that is, um, Ali Price, and the Urim. What a name. Not a very fortunate name. Ambrose Papier, another scrum half. Ruben Morgan Williams. Rodri Williams. Callum Sheedy is a fly half. He could have played for Ireland, so sneak. Angus O'Brien, fly half. Gareth Davies leads the way, and he's a scrum half. So, all right for Nathan Doak. Pretty good. But say, like, Craig Casey and Jamison Gibson Park, Caden Blade as well are better at playing the ball out of hand. They're much better at playing it from like out of hand, so they won't be kicking it as much. That kind of way. They're going to be playing it, which is why Gibson Park has a lot of run meters, but also gets turned over. Some players are much better at just kicking out of hand, and they don't like to run it as much. Doug would certainly be more that type of player. Surprised that Gareth Davies being so high on that list though, because he's normally very good at running with the ball in hand. Then again, Conor Murray used to be like that too, but he runs. He used to run the pass with the ball. Now that he's 35, hasn't got the legs to be doing it. Just not as quick. Jamie Osborne kicking as well. Got a good boot on him. Jamie Osborne, in fairness. Yeah. Yeah, like see, Gibson Park is only low down on this list purely because he tends to keep the ball in hand a lot more, which gets Ireland going. Um, no issue with that really. Discipline. Don't want to be too disciplined and give away a few penalties. Yeah, see, South Africa are high on this one, which you'd expect. Wales as well. Italy leading the way. Not good. Yeah, Italy tend to be a poorly disciplined team and it costs them big time. See there, two Benetton players with red cards, two Connacht players as well, though. Yeah, we don't really, yeah, Scottish players give out about us moaning a lot, but they're always onto the referee. I feel like Ireland just aren't allowed to say as much. Referees tend to expect more from Ireland, and I find it quite harsh. Schoolman's always throwing himself around, and no surprises there. Scottish and Welsh players leading the way in penalties conceded, so there's an area where we can look to beat them. Jack O'Donoghue and Eric O'Sullivan, but I think Eric O'Sullivan is more on the scrum. Dennis Buckley the same. They're both loosehead props, and they tend to get beaten quite a lot in the scrum. So I'd say that's more for scrum penalties. Fagerson's another prop, so O'Donoghue's overly eager. Might explain why you get so many penalties. Yeah, a lot of these are front rowers. Josh Murphy's a real hothead. Seeing him like throwing it around and getting involved in the pushing and shoving. He got a red card for quite a poor shoulder to the head. It was dirty. It was. And rightly, he got a red card for it. Andrew Porter now being a prop, Robert Slimani as well, but Porter's very overly eager. So he does contribute a lot for a loosehead prop, just saying, like for a front rower in general, he does an awful lot around the field. But it can work against him. Again, more front rowers. Munster not being great in the scrum and neither have Connacht, but Aki, yeah, Aki tends to be heavily penalised. Leave our Aki alone. Leave Bundy alone. Now this is a good stat for us. Lineouts once you're talking hookers, best throws. Dave Heffernan, Dewi Lake, who I've been singing his praise. Johnny Matthews as well. Surprised he's not in the Scottish team. Yeah. So in terms of throwing, Connacht are up here, and then Munster. When you look at how fine detail, how much fine detail Leinster put into everything. You'd expect better stats, like Gus McCarthy going down at 12th. Now you expect more. It's not great to see that their line-out success hasn't been great. Leinster malfunction, and then of course so do Ireland. Let's actually have a look because Gus McCarthy, I don't imagine will be starting against England. I would say you will have Ronan Kelleher and Dan Sheehan's only back from injury, so Lee Barron, David Barron, Ronan Kelleher, is he anywhere here? Yeah, remember as well. Oh, yeah, it's way down on this list, but also he's playing in more of the big games and he's playing internationally, but his throwing needs to improve because we're going to need him hitting the man every time. Max Deegan leads the way in line-out steals, which is good. Niall Murray, one of the lads we coach with, actually. Not the same guy, though. Big tall fella for Connacht. Tall second row. Yeah, it's Murray, but I don't know. I don't know why they keep saying it. Is this lad? Is he Murray? And then his name is Darren Murray because I keep hearing it said Murray when I'm watching the commentary. I'm like, it's Murray, sure. I don't know. Snyman, you would expect, yeah. Big second rows, you'd expect to be stealing the ball. I'd like to see Ireland put more pressure on teams at line now. Um, and those are the stats. This video went a completely different direction. FYI, I was expecting it to be more of a going through each squad, but just going through the Ireland squad there. Um, go back to me. Yeah, we'll just talk about the Ireland squad because, and I'll do videos of the other squads. That URC thing is very good. It actually boasts quite highly for the Welsh teams, but individual players, Morgan Morris looking quite good. Johan Lloyd as well. But you've seen the amount of players that are not Leinster that are leading the stats. And then not even not Leinster, not Irish players, like not playing for Ireland. Like the top players there were Gavin Coombes. You had obviously Tom Farrell did amazingly well. Mike Healy, Pierce O'Connor. So yeah, look, in all the stats I would have expected to see, like Nick Timoney did quite well too, Dave McCann, just some honourable mentions. All the players I've mentioned are Irish qualified, FYI. So yeah, that just shows you. I don't think it says an awful lot. Cathal Forde scored very highly. Now he's in the development team, but I don't know whether he'll make an appearance for the Irish main squad, unless there's an injury or something. Ben Murphy's been quite good too. And James McNabney's an exciting player. Now, I obviously get the argument Leinster are top of the ORC. That's the ultimate thing that matters. And so you can say, like, how are they top if they're not dominating all the little stats? They play a good system. They've got so much depth. So there's loads of players coming in and out of the squad, right? Um, but you've seen it there. Obviously, like there's other teams that are relying more on individuals like Coombes, like Nick Timoney, Dave McCann, Tom Ahern being injured, probably why he's not higher on the stats. He's only come back, really. You know, Tom Farrell, though, has been amazing. So, like Gavin Coombes and Tom Farrell have been the Munster side that have been struggling with a lot of different off the field issues, and yet still they're doing that, they're doing well. Coombes will always score tries, he always gets tries. Yeah, that's what it was. He's played 8 games, he started 6 of them, and he's gotten 4 tries. So, like, let's take the 6 games he started then. If you do it from that, that's 2 out of every 3 games he gets a try, you know. So 66.666% of the time when he starts, he scores a try. We'll ignore games off the bench for a second. If you want to actually include them, then it's a try every 2 games. So 50% of the time when Gavin Coombes is on the pitch, he scores a try. So let's say it like that either way. But he's also up there second best in terms of tackles. The tackle success, as he said, you could be a fly half, make 1 tackle in the whole season. Now, you're going to have to make more than that, but you're not going to be high on the tackle stats. If you make that tackle, you have 100% tackle success. Like, I remember, like, I played open side flanker at number 8 now, and there were 2 games in the season where I literally, in one game, right, so I made 28 tackles, got 2 turnovers. I used to look at everything. We used to watch the videos and all. I was delighted with that. But I was always like, oh, I should have made more. And I was looking at, say, 1 or 2 tackles that I missed. So that would mean that my percentage isn't as good as a lad who made 2 tackles and got the lad down both times because they fell off. Do you know what I mean? So it's not a fair representation. You know, you've got someone who's putting it about more, making more tackles. They miss 1 or 2, their tackle stats are down. So in fairness, Coombes is up there putting himself around the field. John Hodnett as well. So fair fucks. And then you also have the Champions Cup. So John Hodnett scored 2 against Castres, came off the bench and scored against Saracens. So he's doing well in that, you know, and you have to also take that into consideration. I understand that. Um, but there's a lot of players that aren't in the Ireland squad that are topping the stats. So you think to yourself, with a good foundation, and in credit where it's due, Leinster have a great foundation. I'm not denying that, but what I'm saying is we need to build on that, and we're not doing that. It's the same tried and tested, boring team that we always go for, and it will cost us. Like I've just shown you, you know, it's literally every other province is top of the stats with their individual players, and like look, Munster were quite poor against Leinster on both occasions. I was at one of those games, the one in Croker, and I can't tell you how boring the second half was. Leinster got their bonus point try. Snyman, of all people, got it 26-12. Leinster shut up shop and said to Munster, try and break us down. They couldn't. They got like 1 try. But Leinster have had a lot of favouritism. They've got a much more financial backing. I'm glad to hear that David Humphreys is saying that you're not bringing in any more foreign players. We need to develop more props. Because that's the thing, you know. You need to develop the players. You cannot be relying on foreign imports all the time. The Leinster have a lot more depth as well. Like Connacht with the lineouts, though, in fairness, they only really have Dave Heffernan and Dylan Tierney Martin, and those two have more successful lineout throws than Gus McCarthy and Ronan Kelleher. Like Leinster have Ronan Kelleher, they've got Gus McCarthy, they have Dan Sheehan, and all 3 of them, you'd imagine, like they're in the squad. So it's definitely an argument to be made. You know, Tom Farrell leading the way in terms of carries. I know Ringrose is only back, and I'm delighted to have him back. So yeah, look, I'm a big fan of his. I think he's doing very well. He's only back. We need him for the Six Nations, but it's certainly something to consider in the future. And Tom Farrell's like getting on now, you know, so he won't be around forever. He's not a young back. So yeah, gotta consider it. What I don't like is that our fly halves are not very reliable off the tee. You know, they can be on their day, but I've seen both Crowley and Prendergast, especially Prendergast, missing easy kicks. I think he's being hyped as this wonder kid, and he has his moments certainly, but I don't think he's a starter. In fact, I'd be quicker to put Frawley on the bench because he can cover more positions. But look, they fast tracked him, and that's on them. You know, it's certainly something to consider. You know, so you look at those players: Tom Farrell, Gavin Coombes, Piers O'Connor, Mike Healy, Dave McCann, James McNabney, um, Just thinking who else. John Hodnett, of course, been singing his praise. Leinster's system is a lot better, but they have the depth and they have the players in order to succeed. You know, their depth is much bigger than any of the other provinces. Don't think there's any denying that. They have a significant advantage. And look, they're top of the league. Fine, I accept that. But they haven't won a URC title until last time they won it was back in the COVID times. So that was a messy format. And yeah, imagine Leinster would have more ability to cope with lockdowns than other provinces would because they have much more financial resources. Look, something's got to change. We'll see how we go in the Six Nations. I was planning on doing a whole review of every squad, but I think I'll do an individual one. Um, Ireland is my team. I want Ireland to win. Radun Vrua, Ireland for the win. Um, but I'd like to see more excitement. It's not really a team where you're getting up and going, yeah, that's great to watch. That's exciting. Cathal Forde's another player. Sorry, that I just forgot to mention, but I've been singing his praise. I think he's a phenomenal player. Um, yeah, I want to see more exciting players. I think it's too tried and tested. I don't think that I don't think the people are right saying we don't have the depth. I think that's a load of shite. That's a cop out. We have the depth. We just don't use it. And it will come back to bite us in the arse. We will be tested in the set piece against England. You can bet your arse on that. They're going to come up hard on a hard line. They're going to look to smash us. They're going to look to bully us. England and France are bigger, more physical teams. I would say they're the most physical teams in the whole competition. France are the biggest and strongest. We don't front up against that French pack, we will get bent over and unsavory things. Shouldn't have really said it. Spanked. We'll be spanked. Um, but yeah, we just have to. We've got to bring it. We've got to bring a game plan. When I saw Ireland against Australia live, I just thought to myself, this is so boring. The amount of passes that we're getting thrown. When you run when you run a screen, so one player runs ahead, acting like he's going to get the ball, going, yeah, 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 yeah. He runs ahead, then the ball goes out the back door, and another player gets it, and we throw the ball wide. We go wide, and we find space out the wider channels. The amount of players that were, you know, bumping into each other, the ball was getting thrown to the wrong fella and getting dropped on the ground. It was so sloppy. And I think to myself, if I was playing on a Saturday with a bunch of old fellas, we'd be giving out to each other if that happened. This is Ireland. The amount of resources they have, and mostly Leinster, so they have even more resources. The fact that we had to rely on our forwards just to truck the ball up with simple tries in the end, which it was simple. Australia are not a great side. They brought it to Ireland, though. They only lost by 3 points in Ireland to a supposed number one ranked side, or at least number two now. I don't really give a shit about the rankings. I think it's a load of shite. You are number one if you win World Cups, and we haven't ever even gotten past the quarter final, which is not good enough from a team that has so much potential. That's why I say it, because I don't believe that we don't have the depth. I think we have more than enough talent, and I would like to see us do it. We have the ability to do it, and we have a chance now to go back to back 3 Six Nations titles in a row. Be the first ever team to do it. I am excited about that, and I think they can do it. And if they do it, I'm hoping, touch wood, that they do. That's a foundation for something great, and I think we can build on that with the players that we have in reserves. Game time. Oh, sorry, acid reflux. Just lay off that for a second. No, I'm an Ireland fan. I always loved watching Irish rugby. I always said the dream when I was younger was not to play for Leinster or any of the provinces. Just wanted to play for Ireland. I don't really care too much what province, even though I was a Leinster fan growing up and still am. That would be my team. But you can't rely solely on one province, especially when there are better players out there. Cathal Forde being one of them. James McNabney looks outstanding. Ben Murphy looks really good. Craig Casey, been waiting so long now. Unfortunately, he's injured. But look, you've got Caelan Blade, another exciting player. Pierce O'Connor looking good. I like the look of Shane Jennings, Ginger Shane Jennings, not the open side flanker with the hair like me. Lack of. Um, Gavin Coombes, like I don't see why they hate him so much. Caelan Doris, Jack Conan, both in a much better team. And it's going to be daunting. If you're a young fella coming into a team full of your rival provinces players, you're you're going to be nervous. You know what I mean? You just are. You go into any team and you're not with lads you know really. You're going to be nervous because they have a say in what happens ultimately, because they make up the majority and majority rules, as they say. It's very cutthroat. It's like you're out, bye bye, see you later. And as I say, a change is needed. Now, let me know what you think about this, guys. I think it's a good video. I mean, it's gone a different way than I expected it to go, but I enjoyed making it, and I hope you guys enjoyed it too. And I will continue with the rugby content. See you later. See you in the next one, guys.